Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheilla, and the story I'm going to read you today is called The Intruder. Now, before I tell you the story, I want to apologize that you didn't have a story last week. Grandma Sheilla was sick and in the hospital, so I couldn't do it, but we'll have a story today. Well, my sister Bessie, this lady said, had to take my mom into town for her radiation treatments. So I'd agreed to take care of Bessie's baby, whose name was Lydia. Now, little Lydia, she was a sweetheart. She was always smiling and laughing and cooing. I loved to be with her. She had just learned to pull herself up to a standing position, but she still couldn't crawl or get out of her crib. Well, after Mom and Bessie left our house, I played with little Lydia for quite a while. Then I fed her some lunch, and I put her back into her crib for her morning nap. Ring! Ring! The telephone went. And thinking that it was probably my sister checking up to see that Lydia was fine, I just started talking. Yes, Lydia's fine, I answered with a smile, thinking it was Bessie checking on us. I just fed her, and now she... But I was interrupted. That's nice, my neighbor interrupted, but I'm more concerned about your geese. Are they out or are they still in their pen? The geese? I asked, totally flabbergasted. They're out, of course. I always let them out every morning so they can eat some green grass. Well, you better get them back in because there's a coyote. A big coyote heading your way, and I think he intends on having your geese for his lunch. Thanks, I said uncertainly. Thanks for warning me. Well, after the call, I glanced at Lydia. She was still awake, and she was playing inside her crib. I hated to leave her all by herself unattended. But this was an emergency, and nobody else was there to take care of the geese. I figured Lydia would be safe by herself for just a few minutes. As I headed outside, there was a loud cackling coming from the chicken coop. Had one of the hens laid an extra big egg, or was there something alarming the chickens? The cackling grew louder. Something was definitely going on. I looked down at my feet. In my hurry, I'd forgot to put any shoes on. No time to go back from them now, I decided, running toward the sound of the commotion. The chickens certainly seemed agitated, but there was no sign of either the coyote or the geese. Maybe the geese went back in their pen, I thought. In that case, all I'd have to do was to close the door to keep them safe. Clambering gingerly over the rough, stony ground, I went to the goose pen. It adjoined the chicken coop with only a thin wall separating the two sections of the shed. The door stood open, but instead of seeing two white geese, all I could see was two yellow eyes staring back at me from the darkness inside. My body froze. The coyote's in there. What do I do now? I thought. Logic told me to close the door, but I was afraid to go near it. The coyote could possibly dash out and attack me. And what would happen to Lydia then? If I'd had boots on, I'm sure you could see me shaking in them. My heart raced, but my feet seemed stuck right there to the ground. Think, I told myself, but my mind was frozen too. I could concentrate only on those 2 yellow eyes and the teeth that were below them. Glancing around wildly, I saw a 5-foot-long piece of wood nearby. Keeping my eyes fixed on those unblinking yellow ones in the pen, I slowly inched toward that piece of wood, hardly daring to breathe. I reached it, picked it up, and retraced my steps ever so slowly. Transferring that wood to my other hand, where it would be out of the coyote's sight, I lifted that piece of wood to shoulder level. Then, with a sudden lunge, I pushed the door shut. Keeping that stick pressed against the door, I went and reached out to the latch and latched it so it would stay closed. The coyote was trapped. I could breathe again. Only then did I notice how much I was shaking. Totally exhausted, I sank to the ground. Then I remembered. Lydia! I remembered her the very moment that I sat down. I had to check on Lydia. Fortunately, she was sleeping peacefully. After tucking the covers around her, I got a glass of water and sipped it slowly, wondering what to do next. More loud cackling reminded me that the coyote was just beyond that little wall, close to the chickens, and could possibly dig his way through to them. Something had to be done. With shaking hands, I picked up the phone and I dialed my neighbor's number. "Mrs. Ray, do you have a gun?" I asked. "A gun? What do you want with a gun?" "I have the coyote locked up in the goose pen and—" "You what?" she asked incredulously. "I thought I heard you say you locked the coyote up in the goose pen?" "I did say that. He was in the goose pen when I came out, so I just closed the door. But now I'm afraid he'll dig his way out to the chickens." "I'll be right over," she said. Well, I went back out to make sure the door was still shut and secure and the coyote hadn't gotten into the chicken run. When Mrs. Ray came with her rifle, she found me standing there. "I still can't believe it," she said. "I'll show you," I replied, unlatching the door and opening it a crack. Having an adult there made me feel much braver. Mrs. Ray put the barrel of her rifle right through that crack between the door and the door where the door latched. Then she aimed that rifle right between that animal's eyes. Bang! At such close range, she couldn't have missed him. The coyote crumpled and died instantly. "Poor thing," Mrs. Ray mumbled softly as she pulled the rifle out. "If you're okay now, I guess I'll go back home." Though she wouldn't look directly at me, I could see there were tears in her eyes. I went back inside to Lydia, sitting on the floor beside her crib. I watched her little chest go up and down as she was breathing in her sleep. The feeling of fear that I had before was replaced with sadness and regret. Hot tears stung my eyelids and spilled over them. The death of the coyote had brought to the surface feelings I had struggled with for a long time. A year earlier, my father had died of cancer, and now my mother was receiving radiation treatments for cancer. What if she died too? Oh God, I cried out. Why is this world so awful? Why must there be suffering and death? Why can't everything be nice and peaceful like it is for little Lydia? When my tears finally stopped flowing, I felt calmer. I realized that when God created the world, everything was calm and peaceful. And when He recreates it, it'll be calm and peaceful again. Death like the coyote. I had been so afraid of that morning was merely an intruder. But it will not terrorize us forever. One day death itself will die and it will be gone. Soft cooing from the crib told me that Lydia was awake. She broke into a smile and held up her chubby arms when she saw me. Picking her up, I hugged her and smiled too. I hope you had a peaceful sleep, I told her softly. Boys and girls, the sadness of this earth will not last forever. Jesus has promised that. One of these days soon, He's going to come to take us home, and it'll all be peaceful there. Thank you, boys and girls, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.